Well, hi everyone, and welcome to JoyHub. We're Barry and Tracy, and we exist to help teams, leaders, and couples journey into deeper joy.
Yes.
So, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about finances, and from the perspective of how this really can be a thief to our joy.
Yeah.
I think maybe sometimes, especially for me as a man, I know I've let it steal my joy, more so out of worry, out of stress. As a man, I know I want to protect my family, and part of protecting my family is providing for my family. And so when the questions come to mind of, will I be able to do that? Will I be able to provide for this growing family? Will I be able to provide all the way through? Like, will there be enough at the end,
Yeah.
whether it's the end of a week, the end of a month, or even the end of a life? Will we have enough to sustain to the end? And I do think we have to avoid two extremes.
Yeah.
We have to avoid my extreme, which is overanalyzing, which can lead to stress. But I also think we also have to ignore the other extreme, which is just to ignore it altogether.
Yeah, and that's where I think I can fall into that category. And I think as couples, this can be a very divisive topic at times, because just like everything else in marriage, you bring different backgrounds and ways of thinking about money into marriage. And I remember from the very early days, if we can think that far back, when we
A lot of days ago,
that was a
more
lot
than
of-
10,000.
when we first kind of sat down I think we've been married maybe a month or a couple of weeks or something, and I remember you looked at me, you're like, hey, I'm gonna do, kind of our budget, like, can you give me your receipts? And I just looked at you and I was like, what receipts? And you were like, well, when you go to the gas station or store or whatever. And I was like, I don't keep receipts.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of a new idea for me. And I remember you saying, well, how do you know how much money you have? Like, what do you do if you don't keep the receipts? And I used to call the bank. This is what I used to do. I call the bank and they'd say, you have so much cash. This is how old I am. That people used
No
to,
electronic banking, no World Wide Web even at that point in life.
and whatever number they said, I just lived below that number. Yeah. And so I never really knew where I stood financially. I was never up to date. My check register was just a disaster. And so that was a big turning point for us to communicate and get on the same page with, hey, don't you want to know how much we're spending in all these categories? Let's keep receipts. Let's keep detailed notes.
Yeah. And I've given up some of the meticulousness, if that's a word, of all of that. But I think, really the bottom line is to get on the same page. Yeah. And for us, the same page really is, we just decided early on that we would live within our means, and even sometimes below our means. Yeah. Most recently, like in the last 5 to 10 years, it's been the decision to live off 80% of what we bring in, and to give 10% and to save another 10%. And over time, even seeing those 10% become 11% and so forth. But to really just commit to avoid debt if at all possible, and really seek to live within our means. And a key to that is communicating with each other about it. Yes, maybe you don't have to save every receipt 25 years now into marriage anymore, but there is the ongoing communication. In fact, we're here at our annual retreat. We take time every year to spend time together looking back and looking ahead. We actually did a video about that. If you're interested in learning more, you can click up top and get to that video about how we use this time. But one of the things we always do during this time is look at our finances and spend some time communicating about it. And though I'm the primary manager, Tracy certainly has ideas and loves to collaborate over it. And over time, especially now, financial goals change. We're empty nesters now.
Yeah, it really has changed. Over the years, one way that we have, kind of added to our reward or points with our credit cards is we do have credit cards. We use our credit cards in the way that we pay them off every month,
Yeah.
so we don't carry over any debt. But that does sometimes give us cashback benefits or points benefits. And so in the past, we've directed all of those rewards into a college saving fund because
Yes.
we had 3 children. And so we were just really trying to implement all our money in that direction. But now we've gotten 1 no longer in college, 2 that still are, but we're okay with the college savings goals. We've met those, and now it's us time.
I love it.
I said, I want to redirect those points
Yes.
for what I really love for this stage of life, which is travel. And so we kind of took some time to research it, found a credit card that was more travel related. And so for the last year, or maybe not even a full year, we've been implementing the rewards for travel. And it's been a huge savings already.
Yeah.
We've had several trips where we've paid for our hotel with credit cards. I just took a trip with my middle child up to New York for 4 days, and we stayed at the Hyatt Grand Central for free for 4 nights.
Yeah.
Right there.
It wouldn't have been free had it not been for those credit card points. Yeah.
It was a huge, and so that's been a huge way that, you know, we evaluated, collaborated together, talked about, hey, you know, like, I want to do more traveling. What's a way that we can change our strategy to make it work for us?
We
And
got creative with it.
yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, what we can do is we can share the link to the card we have found really most beneficial for us as it relates to accumulating points and even bonus points for travel. And if you want to click on that, and if you're interested, it actually will help the JoyHub channel if you click on that and happen to sign up for that very card that we're using and plan on using for a long time. I know there's a ton about this topic of finances that we could talk about. We like to keep these brief and engaging, and so maybe there's more to come on this topic in future JoyHub episodes, but let's just leave it at that, and we encourage you to not let the stress of finances steal your joy, and we'll talk more about it soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.